Good evening. Let's call our regular business meeting to order, and I will ask the treasurer to call the roll.
President Baker,
Present.
Ms. Adair,
Present.
Mr. Brown,
Here.
Vice President Cole,
Here.
Ms. Gibbs, Mr. Ragland,
Here.
Ms. Reyes.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Treasurer. And to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask the Division III state champion Columbus Afrocentric Early College girls basketball team to come to the podium and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you wouldn't mind, come, don't be shy. Don't be shy. State champs are not shy. Give them a round of applause while they're coming up. And if everyone would be upstanding and face the flag. Ladies, as soon as you're ready to begin, you may lead us in the pledge.
Go ahead, Donnie. No. Cause we kidding. Ready? All right, we all say it at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. Good evening. Thank you, state champs, for doing that. And I am going to briefly read through our agenda quickly. So after we adopt our agenda, we'll have some special board recognitions. You will see the state champs back up in front of you. We'll also do Women's History Month recognition. And after that, we will hear a presentation on the Columbus Casting site. We will then take public comment. We do have a speaker signed up to provide testimony to the board this evening. We will then hear from our direct reports with their regular reports, after which we will take up our consent agenda, after which we will hear announcements, after which we will recess into executive session. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
Ms. Adair,
Yes.
President Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Vice President Cole,
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs,
Yes.
Mr. Ragland,
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you very much. So what I would like to do, if there's no objection, is go ahead and do those board recognitions next and come back to that presentation from CRG. And so what I would like to do is ask Director Clarno to come up to the podium along with Coach McKinney, if you don't mind. And I'm going to ask the Vice President, and in fact, bring the whole team up, of course. Yeah, come on up, girls. I'm going to ask the Vice President to read a resolution.
Thank you. It is my absolute honor to offer this resolution, Mr. President, to recognize the accomplishments of our 2018-19 Columbus Afrocentric Early College girls basketball team. Whereas the Columbus Afrocentric Early College girls basketball team, the team, has a cumulative GPA of 3 and 28 tenths, that's 3.28, illustrating their academic talents off the court. And whereas the team posted an undefeated season, going 28-0, and whereas the team won the City League Championship, and whereas the team won back-to-back Division III state championships, earning its 7th overall state title for the school. And whereas the team is tied for the most state title in Ohio girls basketball history. Please clap it up for that one. And whereas the team is ranked 3rd in the nation, and whereas Coach Will McKinney is a finalist for the National Naismith Coaches Award, and whereas Jordan Horston has been named at a McDonald's All-American and a finalist for the National Naismith Players Award. And whereas the team is a model of Columbus City Schools' spirit of success, now therefore be it resolved that the Columbus City Schools Board of Education hereby recognizes the many accomplishments of the Columbus Afrocentric Early College Girls Basketball Team over the course of the 2018-19 season, including winning its 7th state title. It is my honor to offer you this resolution, Mr. President.
That is a motion, and is there a second? Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
President Baker.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Vice President Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Ms. Reyes.
Yes.
Ms. Adair. That motion carried.
Thank you. Mr. Clarno?
Yes, indeed. Good evening, President Baker.
Good evening.
Vice President Cole, Treasurer Bohoric, Internal Auditor Smith, members of the board, and Dr. Talisa Dixon. It is with great pleasure that I have this opportunity to introduce to you this fine group of young people who represent our school district in such a phenomenal fashion. I get firsthand to see, obviously, the hard work that they put in daily and see all the things that they go through as young people to get to this magnificent point. They do everything that we expect of them as young people the right way, represent our school district with honor, and when they're out there playing, they're as fierce as anyone gets, and so they take no prisoners. It is not by any mistake that this group of young women here have won a state championship, and so it is great for me to be able to say that introduction and turn over at this time the microphone here to the head coach, Mr. Will McKinney, and allow him to share remarks with all of you here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to say thank all of you all for your support, and also I would like to again thank the young ladies for doing a fantastic job that they have done with the basketball team and representing Columbus Public Schools. They are products of our great school system. They come from various middle schools throughout the city, Wilbur Park, Ames Middle School, Berwick, and so on and so forth, Afrocentric as well. These young ladies work extremely hard. They come from a great long line of fantastic alumni from the past. As a matter of fact, one of our former players, Renee Waters, just got accepted into the Princeton doctoral program for neurology. So she'll be attending Princeton University. She received the presidential scholarship at North Carolina A&T. And she applied for her doctoral program at Princeton University, and she's just been accepted. And she's one of our former athletes. Her name is Renee Waters. And we have, just a lot of great athletes and academic scholars that come through this program. And I just want everybody here to know that these young ladies are not just athletes, but they are tremendous students in the classroom as well. And Dr. Walker, our principal, can attest to that. Anything that you guys would like to see as far as coming out, checking us out, you're more than welcome to peep your head in, come to a practice, anything of that nature next season when we get it started. But I just want to say thank you for having us here today and honoring our basketball team. And thank you to all of the parents that are here as well, because they also have to put the time in, because it's a very demanding program, and those parents do a tremendous job of getting the girls where they need to get to, making sure that they're on top of their studies and things of that nature. So I just would like to thank those parents as well that are here, as well as the players, and thank you guys for the honors. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Are there any parents or guardians or others who are support for these girls? Please stand up so we can recognize you officially. And Dr. Walker, would you like to share any comments? Please feel free.
Thank you.
Thank you. We like brief speakers. Now, would you mind asking our scholar athletes just to introduce themselves quickly?
Hi, my name is Jordan Horston. I just want to say thank you for honoring us.
Thank you.
I'm Niam Thornton.
I'm Alexia Smith.
Now, they're not shy on the court.
I'm Sakima Walker.
Hi, I'm Aaliyah Johnson.
Hi, my name is Nani.
I'm Sharjay Brock.
Hi,
My name is Michaela Wheat.
Hi. Is that everybody? All right, thank you. So if we got everybody, I'd like to ask the team and everybody involved to come up here for a photograph. Please just come right around this way.
I think, unlike the norm, I want to be in front.
Back here, lady.
We should come back here.
Yeah, there's too many of them for us to.
Are we holding our signs?
Sorry to see
All signs or one sign?
Vice President requested a deviation from the norm here.
You want us a couple signs? Tony doesn't get up there.
Y'all are the star. The tall ones can get there.
Coach, yes, you stand in the middle.
I got.
Just gather around.
I'm just standing. Come on. You're as tall as I am.
We need to get on a knee here, or?
You're as tall as I am.
Squeeze in. Squeeze in.
Dr. Dixon, do you mind stepping up on the stage? On the stage. On the stage. Dr. Dixon, back up on the stage with the young women.
Up between the girls.
All the tall people in front?
Hold on, we got, wait.
We got one more?
One more.
Come on up.
Perfect timing.
Mr. Ragland, can you step up on the stage, sir? Team up, come on. And if y'all can have us go down.
I got my son.
Yes.
Hurry up.
Parents too.
You might want to get in the middle, Miss Gillette. Take a side picture.
This will be on the website.
Okay, here we go. I'll do one more. 1, 2, 3.
And hold it after him, I gotta give him. All right.
Smile.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you all. All right, little bit, that's yours. Congratulations, sweetheart.
You know, short people don't like to be called.
Right, I thought you were talking about.
I know exactly.
See, they don't like to be told that either. Thank you very much. Thank you all for taking the time to be here. I know you're busy. And congratulations again. And let's give them all one last round of applause. And as I always say to honorees, we're so glad you are here, but we don't want to keep you here. So feel free if you all would like to go on home. You probably have homework to do. So thank you for being here. You know what? Don't vote for me for president next year. You can be president. Thank you very much. Let's move on to our next resolution. I'm going to ask Board Member Adair to offer a resolution. And April Knight, are you with us? Would you please approach the podium? So Principal Knight from Avondale Elementary is going to come up and she's going to be recognized. I'm going to ask Board Member Adair to go ahead and offer the resolution.
Thank you, President Baker. I am very honored to offer this resolution to recognize April Knight on her election as the National Association of Elementary School Principals Zone 3 Director. April Knight serves as principal at Avondale Elementary School and has recently been elected to serve as the National Association of Elementary School Principals Zone 3 Director from August 1st, 2019 to July 31st, 2022. Zone 3 includes all of Ohio, West Virginia, Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia. It is an organizational body representing nearly 20,000 members of the nation's elementary and middle level principals and assistant principals, advocating for the support principals need to be successful 21st century leaders to achieve the highest results for children, families, and communities. And the mission of this organization is closely aligned to our mission here at the Columbus City Schools and its spirit of success. I am honored, and now therefore be it resolved, that the Columbus City School Board of Education hereby recognizes April Knight for demonstrating our spirit of success by taking her leadership to the national level as the Zone 3 Director of the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Thank you.
That is a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Principal, would you like to offer any comments?
Thank you very much. I appreciate greatly the opportunity to be here in front of you. I am very excited about this next adventure and the fact that I'll get to represent principals from those 5 states, but most importantly at my heart, Columbus City Schools. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you very much. And before we ask you to come up for a photograph, any comments, board members? We want to thank you for your ongoing leadership here in the district, but seeing you do the same thing at the national level is really exciting. So congratulations. We know how hard you work. Colleagues, any comments? Yes, Board Member Gibbs.
Again, thank you. You're an outstanding member of the Innovation and Reform Committee, and we always appreciate your contributions, your insight, and the perspective you bring to the committee about our programs and the topics we address. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Come on up front, Principal. We're going to take a photograph right here. Thank you again, Principal Knight. Thank you and congratulations. And at this time, I would like to ask Cheryl Ward to approach the podium if she is. There she is. Good evening. And that's not her whole fan club. That's just the Columbus chapter. So actually, any school social workers in attendance, stand up, because we want to recognize all of you. And Board Member Brown, are you prepared to offer a resolution?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good evening to all of you, and thank you for being here in such numbers, especially. This resolution will be to recognize the first week of March as School Social Worker Week, and we're happy to have you anytime. Whereas school social workers serve as vital members of the educational team, playing a central role in creating a positive environment in our schools, and whereas school social workers are especially skilled in identifying and providing services to students who face serious challenges to school success, whereas school social workers are crucial to our work to address students' social, emotional, physical, mental health, and environmental needs, allowing them to achieve success. Whereas education support professionals are integral to the education process, and they work tirelessly to ensure that our students are ready for success and serve children and communities with care and professionalism, whereas school social workers are often the unsung heroes of public education. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Columbus City Schools Board of Education hereby recognizes March 3 through 9 as School Social Work Week, and we're going to celebrate that tonight.
Absolutely. That is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Director Ward, have you any comments you'd like to share?
I would. I am humbled to be able to supervise and lead a fantastic group of individuals. These social workers work to promote, support, educational advancement for young people, breaking down barriers, creating opportunities where people thought there were none, reaching out and recognizing families, supporting them, galvanizing with them, and they are truly unsung heroes a lot of times. We have moved from 12 social workers in the district at one time to 39 right now. And we continue to grow, and we are very honored to have the support of the board, to Dr. Dixon, to all those in leadership, for recognizing that young people have challenges beyond the classroom, and that if we can have people like school social workers and other people to assist us in this working together, we do phenomenal things in the district. So I'm very humbled to be able to lead this amazing group of people, and thank you tonight for taking the time to honor us.
Any additional comments, colleagues? Mr. Vice President?
Thank you so much, Mr. President. It is an absolute honor to be able to honor you all this evening. I'm well familiar with the work that you all have done over the years. I'm especially proud because we're growing capacity in this area. And this is something that this board has been in real strength and fidelity with, right? We made a commitment to the community, particularly in 2016, that we would increase our numbers so that we provided the necessary supports in our schools for our youngsters. I know what our mission statement is. I get up and breathe it just like all of us every day, that each child is highly educated, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as citizens in a global community. And you all represent a very integral and intimate part of that. Thank you all for the hard work that you give to us every day. God bless you.
Any other comments, colleagues? All right, I'm going to ask you all to come up front so we can take a picture. Let's do it on the stage.
I was like, well, they're as short as we are. Yeah.
They're not as tall as the Yeah, it's a different team. It's a different team.
All right, who wants to stand up on stage?
I know, I love the shirts. Come on in, come on in. You want to put your foot for your
Yes, I do.
No one will take it, we promise. If so, we'll catch them on film. It may not be You can stand work. You can work. I didn't
Yeah, we're gonna make this work. Absolutely.
Just make sure you can see the camera. Say cheese.
Everybody's holding their breath.
One more, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
No, we don't want to. Okay. No, there's more than one. I'm just the longest one here. Grandfather. No. Joel, Toby.
Of this group? Oh, actually, I've been here for 20 years. So when I started, there was only 9.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
There he is. Now, as they leave, let's give them another round of applause. Thank you very much, and thank you, Director Ward, for your ongoing leadership. We appreciate it very much. And as they transition, let's move on to Women's History Month. And so I'm going to ask Board Member Gibbs to lead us through this celebration and recognition. Board Member Gibbs?
Thank you very much, President Baker, Vice President Cole, colleagues on the board. We're excited to celebrate Women's History Month, and we have the opportunity to highlight two amazing people for today's celebration. I cannot tell you how excited I am, how I have waited all 12 years to be able to introduce to you the incredible, the accomplished, the trailblazing, the Honorable Jeanette Bradley. Applause. The resolution reads, Jeanette, and I'm going to abbreviate some of it, but whereas Jeanette Bradley is a proud alumna of East High School. And whereas Jeanette Bradley was elected Lieutenant Governor of the state of Ohio in 2002, becoming the first African-American woman elected to that position in Ohio as well as across the nation. And whereas Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Bradley was later appointed Ohio's 45th treasurer of the state by Governor Bob Taft, where under her leadership, the Ohio Treasury received the prestigious National Pinnacle Award, as well as 2 awards for its community education efforts. And Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Bradley also served in Columbus City Council. And prior to her elected service, she served as CEO of Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority, the first African-American woman, the first African-American and first woman to hold the CEO position. And Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Bradley has been recognized by numerous organizations for her leadership and community service, including induction into the Columbus City School Hall of Fame for exemplifying the Columbus City School spirit of success. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Columbus City Schools Board of Education, in honor of Women's History Month, hereby recognize distinguished alumna Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Bradley for her contributions to advancing the opportunities to women throughout Ohio, in the greater Columbus community, the nation as a whole.
Second. Thank you, and as the treasurer prepares to call the roll, I will ask...
No, just call the roll.
Actually, let's just call the roll. Ms. Gibbs has a plan. Mr. Treasurer?
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
President Baker? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
That
Ms.
motion
Gibbs.
carried.
Yes, thank you. While I could bring greetings, we thought it better to hear from a student from her alma mater about what this means as a student at East High School. So would the Tanaya Stubbs, 12th grader at Columbus East High School, please come to the podium?
Got my picture up there fast. So Miss Jeanette Bradley, first I'm Tanaya Stubbs. I am an East High School Tiger. I am a senior, and in the fall I'll be attending Bethune-Cookman in Daytona Beach, Florida. I'll be majoring in biology and double minoring in African American Studies and business. So Miss Jeanette Bradley was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. After graduating from the East High School in 1970, she attended Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio, and earned a degree in psychology. After Bradley took a job with the Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority, she was promoted head of the authority at just 28 years old. After moving to Washington in 1986, she returned back to Columbus, Ohio in 1989. And worked as a senior executive for Huntington National Bank. Bradley entered the 1991 Columbus City Council race as a Republican candidate. She won, becoming the first African-American woman to serve on the council, and then re-elected in 1995 and 1999. During her tenure, she was chair of City Council Recreation and Parks and Public Utilities Committee. Bradley has been deemed a name to watch in the Republican Party circles and possibly a future contender for the White House opponent. As one of only 2 U.S. Black serving as a second in command in their state, Bradley told 2 Cincinnati writers that the position doesn't intimidate me. If it serves as an incentive for other women and people of color to become involved in government and public parties, I'm happy to open that door. Through her career, Ms. Bradley has enjoyed several firsts, but still dismisses her achievements as unimportant in the end. Ms. Bradley stated that maybe the goal is one day we won't have to identify people as the first or the only. Hopefully, because of me, it'll be a little easier for them. Learning about Ms. Bradley through these couple weeks, she has taught me a lot. Although I have had to push to do more and do better as a Black female in this generation, it has been hard to just have a push because of what I'm surrounded by. So I know that in the fall, with my degree, I would do bigger and better things. And I too agree with there shouldn't be just first and only. It should be like a regular, normal thing, you know. So I have the honor to introduce Miss Jeanette Bradley.
It brought tears to my eyes. You did an excellent job. May I speak now? Mr. President, honorable members of the school board, staff, guests, I wasn't expecting this. This was a surprise, very nice surprise. It's like this is my life walking down memory lane. But if this young woman is an indication of what's going to follow me, I am so proud of this East High Tiger. Thank you, sister. And thank you, school board, for recognizing Women's History Month. We started out with 1 week, now we have a month. But for the women in here, we know it's every day. We know it's every day. Every day in this country, hardworking women are breaking barriers and seeking new opportunities in life. However, we know we have a lot of work to do to make it equal and fair and full of opportunities for women. To all the students here, I just want to say, please take your education seriously. Embrace the concept of lifelong learning so that you will be prepared for all these new opportunities in this rapidly changing world. And to the members of the school board, thank you for this honor. It has been my honor and privilege to serve our community for so many years. Thank you very much for this recognition.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask Ms. Stubbs and Ms. Martha Howe. Oh, yes, thank you so much for making it happen. Please come forward for the photo. Okay. What'd you say? Oh!
Right, yeah. Hey, where's my award? Thank you. Yeah, don't leave without the Oscar.
Yeah, don't leave without the Oscar. Don't leave without the Oscar. Thank you so much.
Lieutenant Governor said she does not have an announcement to make this evening,
No.
but
No announcement?
watch her Twitter feed just in
Right.
case.
But I do want to say you are joined here by your spouse. Am I right? Did I see him? There he is. Mr. Taylor, right over here. Wait, there he is.
He's done. Yes, East
I saw
High.
an East Tiger.
Very good.
I'm all over that. Thank you so much.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes. Next, I am extremely privileged and honored and absolutely inspired to introduce Miss Erin Hathaway. Erin Hathaway is the CEO of Erin Pink. And I'll tell you more about it like this.
Ohio students go back to school. Organizations focused on empowering young girls are also ramping up for the season.
Elisa Henry talked to the owner of this program, Erin Pink.
Their schools are full of educators and teachers who are there to serve girls, but when an outsider comes into the building and someone who looks like them that they can relate to, they open up and they pour out their feelings, what they're going through, and I'm just that extra voice to give guidance, support to girls.
Erin Hathaway created Erin Pink 7 years ago.
Erin Pink is a fictional 12-year-old character that we created to be a positive representation of what a 12-year-old girl is in society today. And so Erin Pink is a mentoring organization to empower girls and women surrounded around Erin Pink's story.
The organization serves middle and high school age girls through mentoring, special events, workshops, and speaking engagements.
The components of our program expose girls to positive role models, and then we operate the Lunchbox Girl Talk School program during the day. We have a She's Go Girls workshop, a bi-monthly Saturday experience for girls in the community, and then we have our annual event, Give That Girl the Mic, held at the Lincoln Theater. It's a stage for girls to come and take the stage and showcase their talents in front of friends and family.
Erin Pink also partners with ICE, Image Character Etiquette. That program, run by Erin's husband Sharon, is parallel and serves young boys in the exact same manner that Erin Pink serves girls.
The relationship between mentors, between adults and students are imperative for the development of youth. And I feel like it's my responsibility as a young woman to give back to girls what my mentors throughout life, the experiences and the opportunities they've given me. I feel like it was my responsibility to give back to the girls in my community.
And you have a daughter.
A 2-year-old daughter.
So how does that inform what you do?
I'm putting myself in position to be the best mom that I can be, but I know that young women still look up to peers directly ages above them. And so my goal is to influence this next generation so that my daughter has a generation and role models to look up to.
All good stuff.
Here to talk about the impact of the program is Miss Avery Watkins, 6th grade student at Berwick K-8. Avery. Then I'm gonna call you up. Avery.
Hi, my name is Avery Watkins. I am in the 6th grade, and I go to Berwick Elementary School. Okay, so the Aaron Pink workshops have taught me that I can do anything that I put my mind to, and anything is possible. I've also learned to keep an open mind to more things and to trying new things, even if I am scared. Last, it has boosted my self-confidence and helped me to realize that I am enough and I don't have to improve for anyone but myself. And I have a rap that I created when I was in 3rd grade, and I'm going to be performing it for you guys today.
Okay. Take out bars. While we're waiting, let me tell you a little bit about Miss Erin Hathaway. She is a mother, a wife.
I be trying to not say nothing with.
Sorry about that.
Okay. No, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
These bullies at my school ain't acting right. I be trying to not say nothing with all my might. These kids be acting like they don't have no home training, right? But here's my advice. Don't sleep on me, alright? I'm too pretty to be sitting up arguing all night. And anyways, you're not even on my level, right? Take the stairs, get with my height. Take the stairs, get with my height. You be saying you wanna fight me, right? But you couldn't say it all then and there. Take the stairs, get with my height. Take the stairs, get with my height. When I see you in the hallway, you have nothing to say. But when I go on social media talking stuff on my name, take the stairs, get with my height. Take the stairs, get with my height. These bullies at my school ain't acting right. I be trying to not say nothing with all my might. These kids be acting like they don't have no home training, right? But here's my advice. Don't sleep on me, alright? I'm too pretty to be sitting up arguing all night. And anyways, you're not even on my level, right? Take the stairs, get with my height. Take the stairs, get with my height. I like to rhyme, and now it's my time to shine. I ain't worried about you, you just wasting my time. You're fake and phony, softer than My Little Pony. For all y'all haters, I have something to say. You need to watch your mouth and stop talking stuff on my name. Take the stairs, get with my height. Take the stairs, get with my height. These bullies at my school ain't acting right. I be trying to not say nothing with all my might. These kids be acting like they don't have home training, right? But here's my advice. Don't sleep on me, alright? I'm too pretty to be sitting up arguing all night. And anyways, you're not even on my level, right? Take the stairs, get with my height. Take the stairs, get with my height. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Erin Hathaway.
Thank you. Good evening, President Baker, Vice President Cole, Treasurer Baharuk, and the members of the board. I am honored to be here. Thank you, Ms. Gibbs, for inviting me. that was a surprise to me to showcase my work in that manner, and I feel like it showed it all. So I'm just honored and privileged. We are proud partners of Columbus City Schools. We mentor at Columbus City Prep School for Girls. Through a partnership with Columbus Urban League, we mentor at Wyland Park, and we will be doing, at Sherwood Middle School, and we'll be doing a program at Wyland Park in April. Just like the mission of the city schools, we ensure that our students are highly educated, but we focus on their purpose and potential. We understand that when kids have an identity and are aware of who they are and where they're going, they can focus and prepare for life better. Miss Avery was a performer at Give That Girl the Mic. There was 140 girls who performed at the Lincoln Theater, and she was amongst one of them and received a standing ovation for Take the Stairs. And we also have a program called She's GOAT Leadership and Development. We have 50 girls who are enrolled with us who spend a weekend with us at Capital University. And we mentor them, and we have professional women such as Deborah Benzone, Alisa Henry, a few pharmacists and doctors who come and present to our students. Our goal is to put professional young women who look like our students in front of them so they can see who they can become. And last, in partnership with my husband, who is here today, he is the founder of ICE, Image, Character, and Etiquette. He mentors young men, and together we have a conference called the Ballers Conference. It's a financial literacy experience for middle school and high school age kids. At Capital University, we have about 100+ students come and learn about how to take care of their finances, how to prepare for scholarships, how to not get into debt, and just to overall take care of their budget. I appreciate this opportunity and to be honored tonight, and I just want to say thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes.
Is Miss Erin Pink here?
She's here.
So this is Erin Pink, and as the video said, this is our fictional character. She's an average 7th grader being raised in a single-parent home, and her mother is a career woman who is focused on taking care of the responsibilities at home, and so she's too busy to pay attention to Erin Pink's needs. So just like a typical student, Erin Pink feels alone. She struggles with fitting in at school, and so based on her story and her understanding that she knows that despite her neglect at home, she is a girl with purpose, and that's what P stands for in Pink. It stands for I am a girl with purpose. And so around her story, that's the base of our foundation and how we direct our students in our program.
Can you read for us what the PINK stands for?
Yes, I will do the pledge. P, I am a girl with purpose. I stand for good morals and values with integrity. N, I choose now to get up, dress up, show up, and never give up. And K, my knowledge is power and my actions are powerful.
Thank you so much. President Baker.
Yes, ma'am.
To recognize Erin Hathaway, CEO of Erin Pink. She has established as a mission of her organization to challenge the narrative of what it means to be a girl in today's society by inspiring girls to set standards and expectations that align with their values and morals, to encourage confidence so that they can confront stereotypes and peer pressure, and to empower them to find and use their voices. And since 2011, Ms. Hathaway's organization has served girls and teens in the community through school programs, community workshops, events, and speaking engagements and mentoring. And she has created workshops and events focused around the importance of excelling academically, self-branding, healthy lifestyles and hygiene, peer pressure, intercepting mixed media messages, and simply embracing the enjoyment of girlhood. And Ms. Hathaway's organization has provided these programs and services to the students and families of Columbus City Schools. She works to ensure that our students are ready for success. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Columbus City Schools Board of Education, in honor of Women's History Month, hereby recognizes and offers its sincerest appreciation to Erin Hathaway for her contributions to the students of Columbus City Schools and its spirit of success.
That is a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you mind approaching so we can take a photograph? And please bring Erin Pink up with you.
It's pretty close. Or is mine?
Take the stairs.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit taller than 12-year-old.
I'm sorry, yes, ma'am. No, Ms. Gibbs, any final comments?
No, I just wanted to thank both Aaron Pink and the Honorable Jeanette Bradley for all of your contributions to the city, to our community, and to our district.
Thank you very much, Board Member Gibbs. Any comments from any of my colleagues on Women's History Month? Thank you very much. Well, yes. Go girls. Yes, Ms. Vice President.
It's a tremendous honor for me to acknowledge our girls and our young women throughout Columbus City Schools. I'm the proud father of 2 daughters, one of whom is a student here. And I always call she and her friends my daughters. I do. I call my students in another district, who are my girls in my class, my daughters. It brings me tremendous pride to see what our young ladies are emerging into, and that they fearlessly do it in a way that doesn't stop them. What I will challenge them to do is to continue to do it with love, continue to do it with patience, continue to do it with some joy, continue to do it with a sense of perseverance, continue to do it with humility. With humility. It's one thing to beat our chest for our accomplishments, but it's another to walk with our heads high but humble as the dust. So I challenge you to do those things. I'm praiseful and prayerful for you and for your work, and you have my full support moving forward. I'm just so very proud of what you're doing, young ladies, and what these organizations are doing. Thank you.
And you have brochures at your places.
Any other comments, colleagues? Thank you. Thank you all very much. And then let's move on to a presentation on from CRG, and I'm going to actually turn it over to the treasurer to help guide us through this presentation. Mr. Treasurer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Baker. This evening, we have Mr. Dave Robinson and Mr. Nate Green to do the presentation on a proposed development at the Columbus casting site. We've been in discussions with their team. Dr. Roush and I have been. And at this point, we're at the presentation phase. They're going to talk to you about what they have in mind for the site. And there may be perhaps a little bit of an ask to the board embedded here in their presentation. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Robinson and Mr. Green for their presentation.
Thank you, Stan. My name is Nate Green with the Montrose Group. President Baker and members of the school board, thanks for having us here this evening to talk about CRG. This is Dave Robinson. We represent CRG and Clayco. They're the group that's looking to acquire the Columbus casting site and develop that site. So with us from the Clayco CRG team, they're all sitting in the back, and a couple of them I'm going to get up here and they're going to talk. But we have Sandra Marks, who is a senior VP and executive with Clayco. Dan Lester is the Director of Field Diversity, Inclusion, and Culture at Clayco. We have Hannah Keim, who's the Director of Development with Clayco CRG, and Scott Kaplan is a Executive Vice President and partner with CRG. I just elevated him. He's a Senior Vice President. Nice. With I gave him an increased job title. I do that all the time. So what we as Stan talked about, CRG is looking at the Columbus casting site and develop this site. So we're going to talk just briefly about what Clayco and CRG is. We're going to talk about the site, and then we're going to talk about the tax abatement and our ask of the school district as we need your support and your partnership to be able to do that. So Clayco itself, it's a large company. Clayco is a large construction company with CRG, its real estate arm. It's a $2 billion entity. CRG, the real estate arm, is a $600 million entity. They have 200 employees, or 2,000 employees across the country. They've been around for 35 years. They are very much into LEED projects, which are environmentally sustainable projects and environmentally sustainable buildings. And as we'll talk about, they have a fully integrated facility delivery team, and they will also talk about their diversity, inclusion, and those kind of things, which Dan will discuss. These are the Clayco companies. I'm not going to talk about all of them because, out of respect of your time, the one though that we're really here to discuss with you is the one that's on the left there. It's CRG, which is Clayco Realty Group. Clayco is a full-service development arm CRG is a full-service real estate development arm within Clayco, and so that is the company that's kind of leading the way with this Columbus casting site, and will lead the way to develop that site. Clayco and CRG, these are the companies that they work with around the country. You can see the brands, the names. We all know them. We all use them every day. They're known brands. Their experience in this industrial space in the office product space is wide-reaching. The companies that are represented here, they're either tenants in buildings that they own and they lease to these companies, or they are companies that they've done construction for. So the point here is to say Clayco is a big company. It has a lot of relationships with a lot of companies around the nation. Is going to bring that experience to the Columbus casting site. The Clayco and CRG is already in the region. You see some of the projects that they're working on there. Amazon is one of their, they built one of the big Amazon facilities, 850,000 square feet. They're in the process. Kohl's is going to announce a project out in Etna Township that's a 1.2 million square feet building. They did the Caterpillar facility, which is over near the Dayton area, 1.5 million. And then North Point Development, which is down at Rickenbacker. They built 2 million square feet of buildings there. And those are just some of the buildings that they have. They've also built some other buildings at Groveport. So they're not new to the region. They're not new to the area. They've done a lot of construction here and a lot of things in the space. So they're not new to the region, and they've had experience with being here. The project we're going to talk about, 2211 Parsons Avenue. This is the former Columbus casting site. That picture that is up there shows the buildings that were there. If you go down there today, those buildings are no longer there today. The reason that CRG is interested in this site, one of the biggest reasons, you all know it, and we had all these students here today, is because of the labor pool that it sits in. You have students that could potentially work at the buildings that are going to be here and work for the companies that are going to be here. It sits, this is in the development community, it's called urban infill. This isn't a greenfield site, this is a brownfield site. And so this is great. Bringing, we tore down buildings, but then we're gonna put buildings back up and have new capital investment and bring jobs to that site, which is, I think, great for the city of Columbus and great for Central Ohio. This is really the schematic of what could go there. This shows two buildings that could go on the site. And this is just one site plan. CRG hasn't decided what they're gonna do yet specific to the site. They could put up one building, they could put up 3 buildings. It really it'll be determined by the market. Who's out there looking for space, what they see, whether they're going to build speculative space or whether they're going to do build to suit with clients that come along. So that's just kind of what it looks like today. A lot of these already, but the proposed site I talked about already. It sits within the largest labor pool in Columbus, Ohio. The reason that Rickenbacker has been such a success is because of the labor pool, and this even is a greater impactful of the labor pool because of where it sits in the city. It has great access to 104. It has great access because of that to 71 and 33. What Clayco and CRG look at to do on this site is manufacturing or distribution facilities. That's what is likely to go on that site, and those are the companies that they're already talking to about coming on to this site. The partnership between CRG and the schools is really obviously what we're here to talk about and what you're probably most interested in. What we projected for the site is 700 new jobs on the site being developed in one of those buildings, whether it's one building or 3 buildings. We see that there could be potentially 700 new jobs on that site. We project that based on those 700 new jobs, there's potential for $4.8 million in income tax revenue that would come back to the school district through a revenue sharing agreement with the city of Columbus, which I know that you've done that before, and we've talked with Stan about that. But that would come back to the schools, and that would be the vehicle for that is that we're asking from you and from the city of Columbus for 100% 15-year tax abatement on the site. That allows the site to be competitive with all of the other industrial and distribution center sites in Central Ohio, but it also allows us to be competitive with Indianapolis and Louisville and Memphis and Pittsburgh and all these other places that we compete against for these big distribution sites, big distribution warehouse sites. And also in addition to that, certainly there's the income tax sharing, but we also want to provide an additional partnership back to you with your students that we valued at $250,000 over a 5-year period. But what I'm going to do, because I'm not the expert on that, I'm going to have Dan and Sandra come up and talk about what they do and what that partnerships means. They run these programs for Clayco throughout the country, and I think they'll be able to talk to that and really what that means. So, Sandra and Dan.
Thank you. I'm going to take a few minutes. My name is Sandra Marks, and I'm an executive at Clayco. I came on board with Clayco 4 years ago. I've had my own company for 30 years, and I started my company to essentially develop minority and women-owned firms. I'm from St. Louis, so get that out. But in St. Louis, we, as we have all over the country, struggle to find, in particular, minority and women-owned firms that can build the kind of buildings that a company like Clayco builds. So over 30 years ago, I started a company to specifically focus on that. And for about half of that time, I was a consultant with Clayco. So Bob Clark, who's the founder of Clayco, had hired my firm to help him primarily in St. Louis, and then we began to do business all over the country. And as we went into different markets, we recognized that we needed to team with the community to make sure that minority and women-owned firms were part of all of our projects. So that's my direct expertise, and Clayco is the only company I know of in the country that has an in-house minority and women-owned business development side, which is what I represent. And then Dan Lester, who I'm going to give the floor because I rarely do, but he's really the important one today because he is our workforce development specialist. Dan comes from the educational system, and he himself has a very unique approach. And both Dan and I are really focused on the fact that we are in an industry that really needs good talent. And Clayco prides itself in talking about how we recruit the best and the brightest talent to come into our company and also to come into our industry. But Dan's going to share with you that obviously we've got to do a better job of finding and encouraging the best and the brightest, your students, to consider careers in construction. And I mean from the trades to the engineers, to the construction managers, to the architects, and ultimately to the business owners. We don't have enough of young people in general going into our industry, but we definitely don't have enough minorities and women. And so Dan is specifically focused on that. And partnerships like this allow us to come into the schools, partner with you, to find students and remove whatever barrier they have. We have a great program that we started in St. Louis that we're now doing in Chicago that really addresses what the barriers have been for years with minorities and women getting to this industry. And we put our money where our mouth is in those programs, but we also give our talent. We mentor students, we encourage students, we work with students from high school all the way through college. And Dan is the one that really has made that happen. So I'm going to let Dan come up and take the rest of it. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everybody. All right, well, part of it is my passion is for education. I came out of the education industry as an administrator, and I really saw what impact those things could have. But when I got into the construction industry, being in the public sector, it was completely different because the objectives of diversity and inclusion are completely different, right? I was a diversity director in a private high school, and the directives are different here. In construction, diversity is very simple. It is minorities and it is women. Those are the only two ways it is measured. It doesn't matter what it is, it doesn't matter who it is. But the reality of it is that people are the ones that make up the percentages. So when you go into places, everybody wants to talk about what's the percentage of the people, how much percentage are the minorities, how much percentage are the women. And what we had to realize is that it doesn't happen with percentages. It happens when you start focusing on the individuals. And my experience in education really brought me to a place where we realized that we had to do more. So right when I came into this industry and when I got picked up by Clayco, they were starting this really amazing program called the Construction Career Development Initiative, or we call it CCDI. And CCDI is what we're going to propose to bring here, but a little bit of an abbreviated version. CCDI basically is a full service program that goes into the high schools, partners with high schools, and takes students from their freshman year all the way through what we call success, which is gainful employment, whatever that might be. Now, we don't have the ability to do that fully and completely here, but we have ability to do a lot here. And we've had several pieces of success. We help with job placement, and we don't just say we're going to bring jobs. What we do is we find our contracting partners who are the ones who are that actually hire the individuals, and those are the individuals who we partner with so they can shift their mindset and pivot and realize is that the reality of it is that people don't know what our industry can provide for them. Our industry can provide a very good way of living for those who may not be interested in college, who don't have any other avenues to attend to, or those who are interested in college and want to go through those pathways but have never thought about bringing their talents into the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. We're going to bring career fairs here, again, where we partner you with individuals who are willing to hire those students. We're going to bring classroom presentations monthly where you get exposed to all different types of industries, where the students will get exposed to all different types of programs, all different types of technology that we're using, get excited and stimulated about everything that's going on in our industry. And again, the reality of it is that we've done these programs in other school districts across the country, and we find is that when students learn more about this industry, they want to be a part of this industry. We just did a fair for a school district not too long ago, and those students increased their likelihood of coming into our industry by 40%. So giving them an avenue, a pathway, removing any barriers that may exist there is another piece. Exposing them to job site field trips on a periodic basis, shadowing opportunities to come and shadow and see exactly what it looks like. Mentoring opportunities. We want to provide transportation scholarships. One of the biggest pieces that we find in our industry to be successful, especially when you're entering in the trades and those skilled tradespersons, they don't have transportation. And if you know anything about our industry, you could be working here or you could be working somewhere 100 miles from there today, and to be working here somewhere here, and then you have to get there, and sometimes you're hitting multiple sites in the same day. So if you have transportation, we want to provide transportation grants to those students and then be able to make sure they have ability to get to their projects on time. We want to provide college scholarships. We don't just talk about it, we do it, and we've done this again. We want to provide college scholarships to your students who are wanting to kind of pursue careers in the STEM-related fields that will, again, matriculate into our industry. We want to be able to leave some sort of lasting impression, and we want to provide laptops for students who, in this school district. And those dollar amounts are there on your screen. So you're seeing everything that we're going to propose for you, but it's more than that. Where you see those zeros, those are things that we're giving to you free of charge, not costing anything to the industry, but those which you can see is the value amount of those things. These are things that you get that we do in no other places where we partner with the schools, but it's important that we have the partnership of the school because that's how we reach the students. That's how we locate the students who might be interested. That's how we stimulate them. Our partnership is going to require the support of this board and the support of this district to be able to invigorate a group of students who may not have ever known what opportunities they could go into. And what you're seeing right now, we just read about an article where there's a bill going before Congress to allow individuals from outside of our country to come into our country to be able to fill in the labor that we have. Currently, for every 5 people that leave our industry, only 2 are coming in. And these jobs, prime example, there was a student who started working with us 4 years ago. He was homeless. Him and his mom were couch surfing. He came into our industry, started working for Clayco. He has now been in our industry for 4 years. Last year, in 2018, his 3rd year in the industry, he pulled off $92,000 for his salary. $92,000. He's 23 years old. He got his mom a house. He bought himself a house. He's bought and paid for his car, and he is 23 years old. Those are the types of jobs that we have in our industry, and those are the types of jobs that people do not know about. And it's not just in the trades, but there's so much opportunity in the trades. And so we want to partner with this school district and see if we can really bring some of that information, bring some of that knowledge and that talent and the resources that we can bring to this school system. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Dave Robinson with the Montrose Group. Appreciate the school board's attention to this matter. I mean, I hope you feel the enthusiasm of this company. I mean, I'm sure you hear these presentations quite often, and sometimes you're wondering if they're show horses or workhorses, but these guys are workhorses. And we are fortunate to do work for a number of developers looking to build projects like this to attract jobs. And normally it's just the jobs that we have to promote. But we're fortunate that this group also literally has an organization that builds these public-private partnerships. We want to thank Stan and his team. You know, we've also formed this public-private partnership with your help, with your conversations with your construction education team, because we wanted to make sure that we came up with a partnership that worked. But this site is probably the largest industrial site that's in the city of Columbus and is really primed for development. Clayco, as I hope you saw, is a national company that has a lot of relationships and I think will have a strong track record to bring those jobs. Obviously, this is, you know, the incentives are a big piece of that for the company to have a competitive offering. But again, with the benefit of the Enterprise Zone program, the schools will actually share the income tax that's generated. So we're glad to answer any questions. We really appreciate the chance to provide a briefing on the project, whether it's questions now or questions you have over the next couple of weeks. But again, we're here to answer any of your questions, and we thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Treasurer, anything you want to add to that presentation?
What was the gentleman's name that did the training?
Dan.
Dan?
Yeah.
Why didn't you bring him up earlier? I spent all my time talking with Dave and Nate, and neither Dave nor Nate were as enthusiastic and inspiring as Dan was. So I think I learned more about that project tonight than I have in all the previous meetings. But we are at the stage of a presentation. We've got docs out for legal review. You know, we need to you know, incorporate the ask as well as the benefits to the district in the legal documents. We'll get that done as soon as we can. And as is our practice, typically we make a presentation to the board. I give you a couple of weeks to ask some additional questions, do one-on-one briefings if you like. And the plan would be to, assuming we get the docs done, given our schedule, would be to come back at the first meeting in April, if at all possible, for you to approve those documents and approve this project.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. So colleagues, this is informational this evening. This is a presentation. No action is requested. Are there questions, though, at this point, keeping in mind that the treasurer will make himself available for individual briefings on the project subsequent to this evening? Mr. Vice President?
I have three. The first is this site slated to be a logistics type of hub?
Well, that is really up to the market. Logistics has been a growing market in Central Ohio. We actually have 83,000 logistics jobs. I think that the average salary is, well above the national average. It's been really a regional strength. But if you looked at that list of logos that CRG works with, it could be manufacturing. Which one has more jobs? It really depends upon the nature of it. Fulfillment centers, that we have had a big growth market in, actually in some cases have more jobs and often at higher wages. So we see it as being clearly an industrial use that could be fulfillment or manufacturing.
All right, thank you for that. What also got my attention was the interest in minority business involvement. Are we looking strictly at trying to do diversity and inclusion of employees? What type of work are you trying to do to grow capacity for minority businesses in this venture?
Yeah, I encourage, if you go to our website, Clayco's website, and I'm sure the information's there, but we have a program called Clayco Connects. So essentially, it is about capacity building. We look at, in any market, the minority and women-owned firms and hold all kind of events at the beginning of a project to get people to come out and find out about the project, then to work with them to help build their capacity to be able to do that kind of work. First of all, find the ones that already have the capacity, but also working with those firms that don't. That's what my expertise is. I'm almost as excited as Dan, but this isn't my turn. But yeah, business development is what I do. So yeah, focusing on capacity building is called Clayco Connects.
Success rate with that?
Very well. I mean, we have several firms. Currently, we have 300 firms in Clayco Connects nationwide. A lot of it is fed by projects because obviously we want to train under contract. So I don't really believe in putting people through workshops and there's not actually projects. I've done a lot of workshops and done a lot of training. So our projects feed Clayco Connects. So again, in a market where we have a project, then we begin to implement those programs and have them have an opportunity to actually work on the project, have a contract either directly with Clayco if they can, or as a major subcontractor with a larger firm.
I appreciate that. And my last question, Mr. Treasurer, is for you. In this 4.5, if I'm correct, it's $4.5 million over 5 years. What was the number the projected number for?
Well, we would
income tax?
project, based upon the jobs that we think will locate there, that'll be $4.4 million in income tax generated for the schools.
All right. What is the split with the city on that?
50/50?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
And that's our 50.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just so we don't, 4.5's ours, so it's generating more than that.
That's our portion. Any other questions, colleagues? Mr. Ragland?
Sir, thank you. So you mentioned that the CCDI program would be abbreviated for Columbus. Why is that?
The CCDI program requires a full-time staff person. So where we go in those markets that we're stationary in and we have an office. So St. Louis was where our Clayco started and Chicago is where our home office is currently. What you have seen right there is an abbreviation of that. This is exactly what CCDI is. It's just we're not here every day. However, those people are there. What we do is we train our subcontracting partners to be able to make sure they maintain that type of thing. We've done it all over. We did it here in Cleveland not too long ago with our Amazon distribution center. So we are doing these things. We know how to do it. We have an organized program, organized structure. We know how to raise money. We know how to get it done, and we get it done, and we take it from A to Z. And so this is the only part of this, an abbreviation, is that I can't actually call this CCDI because I'm not actually going to be here every single day, but I will be back every month, me personally, to be able to give those presentations and do what I'd love to do best, which is mentor and train the next individuals who are going to be the shining stars of our country. That's what I do.
Certainly. So I'm making sure I have this. You'd like the abatement to be 100% over 15 years? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then you mentioned a $250,000 commitment, but that was over some time. Can you explain what that particular partnership would look like?
Absolutely. Well, the slide you have in front of you illustrates the elements of that $253,000. That dollar amount is how we would quantify over 5 years the summer cash contributions that CRG would make on top of the income tax that we anticipate will be generated for the site.
Certainly. And my last question, as a part of my one-on-one briefing, Mr. Behort, can we make sure that we have disaggregated data on minority and women-owned businesses, please? I would like that as distinct as possible with each subgroup that you are using as far as your partnerships with those around the country. I'd like that disaggregated, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're on the hook for that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming out. I just have a couple questions for you. And the first one I may have missed, but when you say Columbus Castings, are we talking about Buckeye Steel?
Yes.
Okay. I know what Buckeye Steel is. Also, in the history of your sites, I'm on the page where you are detailing the Ohio projects.
Mm-hmm.
Are any of these projects over 15 years old?
I don't think so.
No. So, 'cause my question is to the length of 15 year. Do we have any of your sites or any of these projects that have reached that life cycle? And then what has the valuation been of that project after the 15-year abatement? If you could bring that information
Sure, and
back to us.
I'm glad to speak to why 15 years, and also glad to talk about, kind of the life after that. Central Ohio has been very successful in attracting logistics, manufacturing, quite frankly, with this, 15-year, 100% property tax abatement at the Rickenbacker Intermodal, and south of there, West Jefferson, out in Madison County. Etna has a big core out in Licking County, and that abatement has helped drive a lot of economic growth. What we've tried to do, and again, the abatement is critical when it comes to the developer recruiting companies, because that's going to be a question that they're going to ask: what are the taxes that we have to pay? But what we try and do is find other ways that we can develop resources for the local governments that are impacted by this. This is in an enterprise zone under state law. It's an automatic split of the income tax for revenue over $1 million. So that is a relatively easy one. Sometimes we have to get a little bit more complicated in the way we come up with revenue for the schools and city or townships. And then also you have this public-private partnership on top of it. The reality is this is a site that was contaminated. There was a company that bought it and cleared it and cleaned it up. We could certainly get you the current taxable value of it now, but quite frankly, it's probably producing next to nothing from a tax standpoint, because it's not, it really just doesn't have any sort of productive use on it. We can also, again, get you some tax values, what we think it would be after, but, a little bit of that is obviously, some estimations kind of working in the future, but it's clearly going to be worth more than it is now. And it would be a substantial investment that would be put into the facility that would, really make it a productive use again, which is really, to me, really exciting for the community.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. We worked with so many people in the past in efforts to make this the best city to live, work, and raise a family. But we've also seen where at the end of our abatement period, we've had some people try to leave, or something happens and it never comes back to full fruition of what it's going to be. So just hoping that after 15 years, we can continue to have a thriving business on that property. And the second piece is around the partnership. I appreciate some of these, and you say it's the CCDI model, but do you work with the local district to customize it to what would work in Columbus? And have you worked in Nashville, Tennessee at all?
We haven't worked in Nashville because we haven't had a project that would call for that. But it's a great question. We actually had a conversation on the phone with somebody from the school district in the construction department and the CTE department to talk about what was really needed here. And the focus was, again, opportunities for those students, computers for those students, transportation was one of the biggest things that she mentioned that was really needed to be able to find transportation for those students when they graduate so they can get to work. I mean, if you can't get to work, you can't be successful. So we certainly customized it. It's not a one size fits all. It's whatever you need, whatever you want. And if this is not what you want, we'll find a way to make it what you want.
I love hearing that. That's what I want. And just quickly, of the 700 new jobs projected on the site,
Yes.
what percentage of those are above minimum wage?
They'd all be above
All
minimum
of them.
wage. Yeah.
So you're saying these 700 jobs are not the, just regular 8 to 9
Yeah,
jobs?
they'd all be above minimum wage. The city of Columbus has a policy that they have to pay $15 an hour.
Okay.
So they would be $15 an hour or higher.
All right.
And that, even if it's, the logistics jobs are really moving in that. Amazon kind of took care of that when they came here and started advertising jobs for $17 an hour. So everyone else is chasing them.
Okay. Thank you. To that point, Dr. Dixon, Dr. Stanford, can you bring us back information to us about which of our local or which college programs have logistics degrees? And as we're thinking about the pipeline to what you're doing, where students can learn from us, and then what 2-year and 4-year programs regionally or maybe nationally can prepare them to be the CEO. I like when people bring jobs. I also like when my students are the bosses.
Absolutely.
And when they can come in at the executive level as well. But we also I don't know much about that career and
Yeah, sure, go
where
ahead.
students would study after high school. I know you can go school to work and make great money, but for those students that want to go to school and study it, just if you could bring us back that info,
Yeah,
that would be
so
great.
that's a very good point. So what we do is, that's part of what the classroom presentations are. We're not just trying to prepare them to come into the workforce immediately. We're preparing those students for whatever life situations might need to be. So that's why we want to partner with you all and see whatever those are, because that's what we do. We come in and make sure for our industry, we make sure they're ready to be in our industry, whether it's going to college. We have 9 students who are full scholarship right now in our program that are there. And we have others, we have about 7 students that are working in the daytime and going to school at night that we sponsor personally. So when we come in, and like I said, it's part of the partnership that we do. So we will certainly make sure that if it doesn't exist in your district, then we'll teach it to them for you. So we just want to make sure of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues? Thank you very much, Mr. Treasurer.
Just as a point of reference on property taxes, the property currently generates about $52,000 a year. After the projected development, with no inflation added to that, it would be about 10 times that amount, pretty close to almost $600,000 a year. So that's kind of that relationship, what the property taxes are now, if they do the project, what they could be in the future, just to give you an idea.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. All right. If there are no other questions, Madam Internal Auditor.
I have some questions on the $253,000. Do you anticipate that that's going to be for 5 years?
Correct.
Is that going to be in the first 1 through 5 or the later years?
Well, I think that's really planned for the first 1 through 5. And again, as was said earlier, this is the partnership that we'd propose, but we're open to working with you all on what you'd want it to be. But I think the initial plan was 1 through 5. Obviously, a lot of these positions are tied to the actual construction project. So this would be where we'd really have your students out learning, in essence, how this building is going to be, built and constructed. But we've tried to build a little bit longer term partnership, with general promotion of the industry and the trade.
thing that you anticipate coming to the district in years 6 through 15?
Well, again, this is the partnership year 1 through 5. I think we would see 6 through 15, hopefully a whole bunch of income tax, coming to the district. That's really, where you're going to get the largest share of revenue and the chance to split the income tax with the city.
Okay, and my last question is, have you had a chance to talk to some of the organizations in this part of town? I'm thinking of the the Church and Community Development for All People, or the Southside Area Commission. There are a lot of active organizations on that side of town that are definitely interested in any type of activity that will be coming to the South Side.
Yeah, I think we've not had a lot of discussions in the neighborhood as of yet, but we see, we're very, very focused on being a partner in that part of the community. And, again, the industrial heritage of this site, really, we're hopeful that it creates a lot of excitement, that it'd be a big job center close to home.
Okay, thank you, President Baker.
Mr. Treasurer, does that conclude your, Madam Superintendent? Yes, I can see. Thank you.
Sure that we are mindful that we are an educational institution, and it is critical that our students not just get stuff, that they get experiences. So whatever you need to do to customize something that's going to work best for our kids, that's a non-negotiable, right?
Yeah.
So please, I don't want to abbreviate it anything. We want a plan that suits any other city, and whatever those students get, I want my kids to get those. So please work with our educational services team. If you need me, or whoever you need to work with to make sure our students get those experiences, that is a non-negotiable for us. Thank you.
Yep.
The only thing that's abbreviated is the time.
Okay. Okay.
So we have raised over $1 million in 3 years to keep our programs in other cities currently going.
Okay.
This one is tied to a project, so that's why it's abbreviated.
Okay.
And so we're going to definitely make sure you get what you want. But like I said, if this is what we want, we'll find a way to make sure it's.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, it's all experiential learning. I mean, that's really the whole mission of it.
All right, well, if there are no other questions or comments, thank you very much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, let's move on then to public comment. If there are no other questions on that presentation, thank you. So we do have one speaker who is here this evening to provide public testimony, and I'll ask the speaker to approach the podium. Valina Upchurch, topic, mistreatment of students, board action requested. Take in consideration how the staff is mistreating students. Ms. Upchurch, good evening. You will have 4 minutes. You'll see a timer on the screen. And welcome. Good evening. The floor is yours.
All right, good evening, President Baker, Vice President Coe, Treasurer Brohara, I'm sorry, international author, Editor Smith, member of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Talisa Dixon. Okay, I'm here today because I have concerns. My kids are being mistreated by everyone at Columbus City. I mean, down to the superintendent office, all the way down to the principals at that school. I've been voicing meetings. I've been getting lied to by the superintendent office. I've been having everything. My kids have been out of school now for 30 days. They are not in a school. They will not provide transportation. They have split my kids up into 2 different schools without my permission. When I asked for documentations to state that the Columbus City schools have the right to do this, I'm told that it's not public records. I can't get this. I can't get the policies. None of this is public record, is what I'm being told by the superintendent office. I'm not understanding how my kids are not in school. This is a failure to my kids' education through Columbus City schools. My kids have been in school together their whole life. They have an incident at school that happened on the school bus. They get expelled from school. I never had a meeting at that office with the principal to discuss what's going on the bus or anything like that. My kids have never been kicked off the bus. Kids that was involved in this incident that were at the hearing office went back to school the next day.
How is it fair that my kids get expelled when they were all convicted of doing the same thing on the school bus? And no one can answer this for me. I bring this up in front of the board to get answers.
Does that conclude your comments, Ms. Upchurch?
Yes, I need answers. Like I don't know what else to do. My kids haven't, like I said, they're still out of school. When I speak to the social workers at the school that they placed my kids in, they say, oh, they have this bus route but no bus number. Or they got this bus route with no pickup time or no drop-off time. But I was never informed by the superintendent's office, who was only allowed to speak to me, of a bus route. No one has still to this day informed me of a bus route. I get the paper in the mail that's dated February the 22nd. I get it in the mail March the 12th. So y'all keeping this a secret for what? Like my child 2 years ago got expelled from a school that she didn't do anything. Her twin sister got jumped, and they both got expelled. The girls got to stay at the school. When school started back, they went to school. I did my investigation and everything. I need answers of why are y'all letting this go on through Columbus City Schools? When I'm informing the superintendent office, having meetings with the former superintendent, and nothing is getting done.
Does that conclude your remarks, Ms. Upchurch?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Are there any clarifying questions from board members? I'm going to ask the superintendent to perhaps have someone on staff continue to follow up with Ms. Upchurch
Yes.
while she's here this evening.
Yeah. Good evening. Dr. Stanford will follow up with you tomorrow on next steps. I know you've worked with him and Mrs. Gillison.
Yes, ma'am.
And he will follow up with you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come down to address us this evening.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yes, ma'am. All right, colleagues, let's move on. And if you'll indulge me, I am going to ask that we make a minor adjustment to the direct reports in that the internal auditor has a 7:30 hard stop. And so if no one objects, I'll ask the internal auditor if she has a report first.
President Baker, I do not have a report, but Audit and Accountability will be meeting next Tuesday. It's a different time for us. So we're meeting next Tuesday at 3:30 in the Cabinet Room. Hopefully, all those who can make it, please plan to attend. We should be wrapping up our Auditor of State audit, and that report should be released that following Thursday. That's my report.
Okay, very good. And I believe that you had a senior member of your staff who will be with us this evening in case there are any questions.
Yes, I do. He's sitting out there just excited to answer any questions that might come up in my absence.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We appreciate that. All right, let's move on then to our superintendent. Madam Superintendent, have you a report for the board this evening?
Yes. So this past weekend was truly a time of heroic efforts, not just on the basketball court, but also in several of our schools as we wrapped up the final Saturday of our Super Reader Academy. For the past 8 weeks or 7, if you don't count the snow day we had, we've averaged more than 550 second and third graders taking part in our academies. This past Saturday, the students earned their Super Reader capes, and we put one at each of your chairs as well, so hopefully we get a picture with you with your capes on before we end tonight. The Saturday classes were more than just a comic book fun. Our young readers were able to zero in on the vocabulary and comprehension skills that they need most to be successful on the upcoming state tests. As I've shared before, the initial assessments done at the Saturday sessions revealed that students who attended the academies are showing a 17% improvement in comprehension. And we hope that academic gains don't stop there. Our elementary teachers continue to show off the new reading tools they're using in the classroom, made possible by the professional development we've invested in as a part of our academic surge. Now, though, it's time for these investments to show their return. Next week, we enter into the state testing window for the reading and English language arts. This first ear test window for both testing and makeup tests runs through April 15th. And then we have some subsequent tests afterwards. Our teachers, staff, principals, academic teams all have a sense of urgency, as they rightly should, because we have spent the past 7 months getting our young people ready for success just for this moment. And just like the basketball game this past weekend, now is the time for our students to get their gear going and stay focused and determined and to be present in mind and in class. And all of us can be supportive during this time. I will work with our academic support and our communications team to share some reminders to families and staff on ways to encourage and empower our test takers during this high-stakes, high-stress time. Now, I understand that the tests often cause high levels of stress, and in our current structure is what we must do. I will push strongly that we change this narrative, that we start measuring what matters, and measure it in multiple ways, not just with standardized tests. Our students learn in multiple ways, and we must work to create a structure that is reflective of this, and I'm committed to work to that end. As I shared in my first board meeting 2 weeks ago, I launched a 100-day plan to hit the ground running and in hearing from our district's diverse stakeholders, students, staff, families, partners, and the community. We are now through day 16 of this plan that we've dubbed Mapping Our Success, named because I truly do believe that our schools are filled with successes and challenges, and we both should all want to understand exactly where we stand on both. Our most recent community exchange took us to the Southside Rec Center, and we had another large crowd brought together by our host, the Southside Area Commission, Southside Stay, and Community Development for All People. There were several different topics and touch points brought up during the conversation, but there is one reoccurring theme that I'm hearing as I talk with many in our community, that people want to be engaged, but they either don't know how or sometimes they don't feel invited. The truth is, we have a great many partners and involved parents, but you can never have enough. It is why our strategic plan puts a much-needed emphasis on engagement, and why we need a multi-level, layered, all-around approach to boost it. So I look forward to seeing more families and working along with our community to partner at our next community exchange a week from tomorrow, next Wednesday night, March 27th, hosted by our partners at Clintonville Go Public. We're still finalizing the location, but we're set to meet from 5:30 to 7 p.m. next week. And once we have the location, we'll share the updates online and in the neighborhood. Of course, you can always get the updates on the 100-day plan all the time on our website and on the mobile app. As you know, I actually began to work prior to my first day with a 2-month series of weekly visits. It was a great opportunity to better understand some of our administrative challenges and successes that we have in our organization. More importantly, it was an opportunity to see the way our administrative structure is aligned or isn't aligned, in some cases with the strategic plan. Over the next several weeks and months, I would roll out the fuller host of administrative changes I think would better maximize our efforts here at the district level, and more importantly, have a better result at the building level and in the classroom. But tonight, with the board's approval, I wanted to take the first step in one of those moves. Right now, so much of our work rests on the shoulders of our Chief Academic Officer. In fact, all of our academic responsibility goes to that one person. That's not acceptable, given that our strategic plan and our core mission centers on the academic performance and leadership. And I believe our principals need all the support they can get. So for the next school year, I want to create a new Chief of Transformation and Leadership, a direct report to the superintendent who would focus on supporting our principals and identifying those key transformations as the building level that will sustain our students' successes. I will map out the work of this new position and a few others at a later date. But let me just initially share that I think you would be impressed by the work of Dr. Angela Chapman, who will be coming to Columbus from the DC Public Schools. She currently serves as a chief of secondary schools there. She has served in school leadership for more than 11 years in Cleveland Heights, along with Euclid and Massillon schools here in Ohio, and in the Metro Nashville Public Schools. Again, I plan to share more about the organization changes as we near the end of the first 100 days, but just know that we are not waiting to get our momentum going. Also on the agenda tonight is something noteworthy on the operations side of our enterprise. With your approval, we will replace 40 outdated buses that are nearly 3 decades old with engines that blow out higher levels of emissions. And here's what makes this truly noteworthy. We only have to pay half the price for the buses. A shout out to Chief Operations Manager Maurice Odom and his transportation and fleet teams for securing the $2 million 50-50 matching grant from the Ohio EPA. It is part of the state's Diesel Mitigation Trust Fund that was set up with court-ordered fines against Volkswagen. This grant will allow us to replace 40 buses brought back in 1991. The replacement buses will meet today's air quality standards, and they are more reliable, and each one offers improved safety features. Our work is not done. We have to purchase more buses, so don't think this is it. And we must put ourselves on a replacement cycle. That's very important that we do that. And then finally tonight, I want to thank President Baker, Board Member Cole, and Dr. Roush for joining me in Washington these past few days as a part of the Council of the Great City Schools Legislative Policy Conference. I think each of us will agree that it was a valuable opportunity to push on federal education action and to hear from the Department of Education and new leadership in the House of Representatives. As I've said before, we cannot do it all, and we cannot do it all alone. We need those in Washington, even the ones we disagree with, to set up and put up the futures of our children first and not politics. I think our delegation in Washington agreed, at least the offices that we briefly met with. In fact, I think there's a growing recognition and appreciation both in Washington and here in the State House that education should not be a partisan effort. As bills in the State House are debated and new budgets are introduced, I believe there's room for partnership and compromise. Let's hope that this renewed sense of goodwill is not fleeting. And perhaps one way to keep this bipartisanship alive is to keep them focused on what is most important: our champions, our super readers, our young scholars at every age and ability, and their families who need every support that we can offer. With that, President Baker, I conclude my report this evening.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Are there questions? And Superintendent mentioned one thing briefly, and that was the Council of the Great City Schools 2019 Annual Legislative Policy Conference that the Vice President and she and Dr. Roush and I just returned from. I provided each of you a flash drive with all of the documents from the conference. You have that in front of you so that you can avail yourself of all the information that was shared during the conference. Any questions for the superintendent? Board Member Gibbs.
Thank you for that update. I have a quick question. I would have, since you brought it up, I will ask it now instead of consent agenda about the buses and the bus refresh. I know that we bought a whole new set of buses a few years ago, but are any of the new buses we are going to purchase, will they be for special ed, and will they be the ADA compliant? I know we bought regular school buses, but I'm not sure if, when, and where we have refreshed our fleet with the wheelchair accessible ramps.
Mr. Oldham.
Mr. Oldham?
President Baker, to Board Member Gibbs. What we're looking at, there's a mixture of buses. I can get the breakdown of that. We're looking at different options. The first goal is to replace the 1991 buses. Again, because as we know, as the bus get older, the maintenance costs go up higher. As we look at those buses, we're also looking at options of not necessarily always looking at 35 passenger buses, which is the smaller buses, but looking at also options of how do you get regular buses also with wheelchair options as well. Because as you know, as you try to look at being more effective and efficient, you have to look at different ways to operate. So direct to your question, I would need to get a breakdown of what buses we are getting, because there's also a movement out there as well. As you know, you have the 70-plus passenger buses. There's also a movement also looking at possibly looking at different size buses such as 48. And the reason we look at that as well, as you know, in our district, because we're a school of choice, many times we run out of time before we run out of space on buses. So we're looking at different options, but I can get a breakdown of what those buses sizes are.
Okay, thank you. So what I heard you say is you're going to give me a breakdown of what this purchase, what the mix of this purchase is going to be.
Excuse me. Board Member Gibbs, that is correct.
Okay.
But again, I want to keep in mind, these are really the 1991s that we're looking to replace for like, but I definitely get you what they are.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the superintendent on her report, colleagues?
I do.
Board Member Gibbs?
When is our next scheduled, when are we scheduled to meet with, as a board, our board retreat with the
Our retreat,
superintendent?
next retreat is the end of April, last day of April. And then we have one also scheduled for the next day, May 1st,
For the next day, May 1st?
to discuss the strategic plan.
Okay. Because I want to hear about the plan, but I know that you're still gathering information from the community, but definitely want to make sure we hear about it. So, okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Madam Superintendent, for your report. And 15 days in, how is it so far? Still smiling?
Yes, it's going great, learning a lot.
Very good, thank you. Let's move on then to our treasurer. Mr. Treasurer, have you a report for the board this evening?
Yes, I do, President Baker. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This evening, we have the monthly financial report for February. This was reviewed by the Finance and Appropriations Committee last Wednesday. For the month ending in February, year-to-date revenues are up 11% above plan, about $74 million. The expenditures are running about 2% under plan at $11 million under. That drove our cash balance to about $86 million above plan, and it stood at the end of the month around $356 million. For the committee, we were a little bit pressed for time because of other items on the agenda. So, and this may be a preferred methodology, given the length of my reports oftentimes, but I hit on 4 highlights of the financials at that meeting. In the revenue side, we talked about property taxes and that we were through February in the process of receiving advances on the first half settlement, but by the time the meeting had arrived in March, I knew that we had received that settlement, and while for the end of February, property taxes were about $51 million above plan, I know that with the posting of the March final receipts for that collection, we'll be down around $4.9 million above plan, which is a variance of about 0.97%. So that'll bring that cash balance variance down quite a bit. The other revenues still are a standout, and within other revenues, pilot payments are about $9.8 million year-to-date above plan, and they still represent the largest contributor to that variance. Investment income is up about $4.5 million year-to-date, and we also have a timing variance, what we believe to be a timing variance on Medicare reimbursement of about $3.7 million. So we're looking at this other revenue line item very closely as we are in the throes of preparing the May forecast update so that we believe we'll be able to make some upward adjustments in our future forecast for revenues, not only in property taxes as a result of what we received this year, but also in this other revenue area. State revenues still seem to be spot on. While we might revise them upward, it won't be a large percentage-wise, certainly, because we're very close on that number. We have not, at this point, analyzed the governor's proposal. We just kind of sit back and wait and see how things go at the State House. Unfortunately, as you all know, the timing is such that we will have to present, discuss, and adopt the five-year forecast without really knowing what state revenues will be in the next biennium. That's just the nature of the beast, and we know that that's a longer-term variable. On the expenditure side, personnel still running under plan, about 2% at $8.8 million. We do know, as we delved into that salary and wages are very much on plan at 1.3% under, which represents about $3.6 million. But benefits are the culprit here at about $5.2 million under plan or 4.4%. Again, we're taking a closer look at our forecast and we'll be adjusting our methodology there out into the future to enhance the accuracy of that forecast. And in purchase services at about $5.2 million under plan year to date or 13%. That's primarily in the area of tuition and utilities, pretty much out of our control. And I'm planning on doing perhaps two versions of the forecast, one on the expenditure side as budgeted and one as typically expended to give the committee that, again, you know me and my hurricane maps. I like to see scenario analysis to say, this is what we budgeted, and if we spend what we budgeted, it looks like this, but if we behave as we have in the past 4 or 5 years, this could be what it looks like, and then let the committee get a feel for that. That ended my kind of quick and brief discussion with the committee. My typical data and graphs are all available to you online. You can see here graphically that property taxes stand out and other revenues are the culprit in other revenues. On expenditures, graphically we're very, very close, but dollar amount certainly personnel leads the way, and purchase services do stand out graphically. When I get into the analysis variance, again, this is what led my brief discussion, looking at property taxes in terms of small percentage but large dollar volume, and the vice versa for property taxes. Again, just trying to highlight where we should be focusing our attention. There's a discussion of other revenues and pilots and revenue sharing and win-win. And again, all of this is available, but we went through it very quickly at the meeting. Other items on the agenda included another primer, if you will, on capital funding, OFCC funding in particular. We talked about co-funded seats and locally funded seats, and how our efficiency in assigning students to those seats affects our funding in the long run. We heard a budget request from Business and Operations for Fleet Services, which I believe is reflected in an appropriation resolution amendment before you this evening, later in the consent agenda. And then the bulk of our time was spent on departments presenting their 2020 budget presentations, and much to the glee of the Executive Director for Budget, we hit the timing target on the nose. We scheduled, I think it was 45 minutes for it, and we came in at 45 minutes. So we were very happy with that. But we went through all those budget presentations on the non-personnel side. On a budget standpoint, he is working on the personnel aspect, the FTE requests for the coming year, and we are working hand in hand with trying to put as much current information as we can into that May forecast update. So we're really working on it at real time, but quite frankly, given my schedule and the schedule for presentation to FAC in April, the five-year forecast will be pretty much in the books by the end of this week. I plan on doing a preliminary presentation to Dr. Dixon, hopefully if we have the time on Thursday, and then we'll be ready for our April presentation on that. And that concludes my report to the board this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Are there questions for the Treasurer, colleagues? Mr. Vice President?
Thank you, Mr. President. Glad that we not only ran an efficient meeting, but that we got a robust amount of information discussed and some substantive questions following. For those who have any questions moving forward, because particularly in preparation for the 5-year forecast, there'll be some things that will be continually updated as we move forward in that process. As you have questions, please feel free to submit them to myself or submit them to Treasurer Bohoric. I'm happy to make sure that we're keeping you as informed as possible in that process. All are welcome to attend meetings as well.
Vice President, anything else from or for the Treasurer? Thank you. Let's move on. Colleagues, is there a motion that we adopt the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
And is there a second? Mr. Ragland has advised that he must abstain on item 13.2. Thank you, Mr. Ragland. Any comments or questions on any piece of legislation contained within the consent agenda? Mr. Brown.
Yes, thank you. Just had a question on item 19.10, which is the very nice, let me make sure I have the right one. Yeah. Very nice donation among several nice donations to the schools. This is the one from the Columbus Foundation, $8,500 for special education services. And I want, just in reading it, I don't understand the terminology and what that is. So just a brief explanation. I don't need a lot, but I want to understand what is it that they're giving us, or they're giving us cash, but what is it that we're actually getting for our students?
Madam Superintendent, who would you like to have answer that question?
President Baker, Vice President Cole,
Good evening.
Mr. Borg, and Superintendent Dixon. My name is Ellen Bonk, and I am a supervisor in speech-language pathology, and I have the data. I have the information you're looking for. So in special education, in speech and language services, we have students who have communication challenges. And some of those challenges include not being able to speak at all. And so we have a donor from Columbus Foundation who has agreed to give us some finances that we can use to have a lending library. So we have a proposal that we have forwarded to the superintendent's office so that they know, and that came in this week through Krista Bauer. And so if you wanted more information about that, I actually have a handout with me if you'd want me to submit it to you. You could see more directly. You may not be able to decipher some of it, but if you'd want more further information, I could always prepare something for you. But it is, at this point, using iPads with specific software on it. And what happens is our therapists write extensive reports to ask for insurance funding for that, but that can take months. And so these students are left without a voice during that time. And this gentleman, through the Columbus Foundation, is going to generate funds, give us funds, and this is the first of what he says may be continual yearly donations to help the Department of Speech, Language, and Services in Special Education and Student Support Services to provide those kinds of items. We're looking at 10 iPads at this point that then the therapist would sign out, take to the schools, and use with those students. So we're really thrilled about it. Feel very, and the nice thing is, through the budget that we have in past years, all of our 66 therapists have been trained already by our department in how to use these devices. So it was very gratuitous. We feel very blessed.
Wonderful, that's helpful. And I'm guessing, assuming that this donor through the foundation wants to stay anonymous, but you know, we certainly appreciate the gift and thank the donor for that.
Yes, I will extend that to him personally for you on your behalf, and I appreciate your recognition of the significance of it. And we are set up to send him. We're still working on that relationship and what that might look like. I think we're looking at maybe at least semester reports back to him, perhaps quarterly reports back to him. We're even looking at whether he might be able to, given our opportunities, maybe see if with releases from parents and things, see videos of his work at hand. But we certainly are trying to hand back accountability to him. And if any would like to see more of what that money's going for, you just let me know, because it is inspiring work, and we are very grateful and thankful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions? Board Member Gibbs.
Thank you so much, and to the donor, we definitely thank him. My nephew is nonverbal, so I understand the depth of the work. But if you could ask for anything, if there was some critical items that you think could additionally help your department, what would they be? Not Stan is shaking. I'm not saying you're getting them. I'm not saying we have a blank check, but for the viewing and listening audience, if there was.
Yes, well, you can imagine that my ears peaked when we talk about FTE. Personnel certainly help us. We have 66 speech pathologists, 2 more that are part-time hourly that help cover when we have FMLA leaves, and they are in 110 buildings in our district. So, many of them, there are, ranges depending on the need. Some will have 1 building, but we have some people that have 6 places that they stop. And we have a couple therapists that really move from place to place to place just because of the itinerant needs that we have. So certainly assistive technology, augmentative communication is an area where more of this type of technology helps students similar to what you're talking about, but it's important because it helps them access the curriculum, which is so important for our test scores and to interact, but it also helps them functionally and socially, vocationally, so those kinds of devices in that special area. Our therapists are specially designed instruction. They provide that, and they're highly trained, master's degree licensed individuals, and they can benefit a wide range of students, both in communication skills, but also language and also literacy. But our services, for the most part, are with students that have individual education plans under special education, but we have a great amount of skill in a variety of areas that can also help in interventions and in literacy. So when we have more personnel, we are able to do more, but certainly we have requirements in all kinds of areas like tests, protocols. Our budget continues to be spent wholeheartedly because we need those things to do our job.
Thank you. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention.
Thanks.
Any other questions on that particular piece of legislation? Thank you very much. Colleagues, any other comments or questions before we vote? All right, Mr. Treasurer.
Ms. Adair?
Yes, I need to abstain from 19.10.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs? Mr. Ragland?
Yes, with the exception of 13.2, from which I abstain.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you, colleagues. Any announcements, any points of pride any of you might like to share? I'll start because she probably won't say anything about it herself, but the Ohio School Boards Association Central Region Spring Conference on March 13th saw 2 awards for Board Member Gibbs. One was Master Board Member, and the other was the Award of Achievement. And so this is her 13th year as a member of this board. She is our senior member. As you all know, she's retiring from the school board at the end of the year. This is a picture with Ms. Gibbs, and you see the superintendent is there, our internal auditor is there, vice president is there, board member Adair. and other friends, so as well as Dr. Stanford. So I just want to recognize, congratulate Board Member Gibbs. Let's give her a round of applause. Yeah, I like that. Any words of wisdom, Board Member Gibbs?
Keep working.
I'm with you. Also, that same evening, and thanks to those of you who were able to be there that evening, 3 of our programs were honored. So Flag Football Fridays at Woodward Park Elementary School, as well as Civic Education and Leadership Academy at Cause, as well as the Fort Hays Visual Arts were all recognized as outstanding programs in the Central Region. So congratulations to everyone involved in those 3 programs. It's always nice to go to a regional or statewide event and see my colleagues and our students being honored. So that is the spirit of success. Colleagues, any other announcements or points of pride you'd like to share this evening? Well, yes, indeed. So hopefully we see another win there. Anything else, colleagues? Yes, Ms. Adair.
I just wanted to give a shout out and spirit of success to all of our schools who put on plays over the past few weeks. There were numerous schools that had wonderful productions at all levels, and it wasn't just our wonderful Fort Hays, it was all of our schools. And so we in Eastmoor, and we know that this ability for students to explore the arts is very important. It helps them in their academic success and helps them develop their imaginations. And so thank you to all of our drama and music and theater and art teachers and all of the students who showed up and performed in these wonderful productions.
Hear, hear. Absolutely. Okay. Board Member Gibbs?
Yes. Just want to announce that we are having Innovation and Reform and the Board External Monitoring Committee will be hosting a community orientation to both of those committees on Wednesday, April 17th, from 5:30 to 7 here in the Assembly Room. So if you are interested in serving on the Board External Monitoring Committee or as a member of Innovation and Reform, we will host a meeting to give you information about those committees, the work that they do, and answer any questions you may have about those 2 committees. It's free, open to the public, and we will be sending notifications out to the broader community. A lot of people, to Dr. Dixon's point, wants to know how they can get engaged. Well, you can serve. We have board committees that have community slots for them. And we are going to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone with Innovation and Reform and Board External. Again, that is Wednesday, April 17th, 2019 at 5:30 here in the Assembly Room.
Thank you, Board Member Gibbs. Look forward to that. And if there is nothing else, I'll ask the Vice President to offer a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Board of Education recess into executive session per section 121.22 G1 Ohio Revised Code to consider the employment, discipline, or compensation of a public employee, and per section 121.22 G3 Ohio Revised Code to conduct a conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Ragland?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Adair?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. The board will now recess into executive session. We will adjourn from those chambers without returning to these. Have a good evening.